So hello and let us all welcome our today's guest Sridhar Pappu, AI consultant and global professor of practice at Golden Gate University. So at first, Sridhar sir, we wanted to know about you and your overall experience. If you wanted to share some story, anything.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Pooja, for inviting me to this podcast. And I have a nearly 30-year experience now doing a variety of things. I did my bachelor's in not in AI or Gen AI, which is the topic of today's discussion. So let me explain you the journey to the point here. My undergraduate was in metallurgical engineering from NIT Trichy. At that time, it used to be called REC Trichy. Then I went to US for my master's and PhD and did it in materials science and engineering. And then I worked in Silicon Valley for about 4 or 5 years in the semiconductor industry. But my goal was always to come back and work in the Indian defense labs as a scientist. And I had that discussion even when I was pursuing my PhD. I came here, I talked to the director, and then when I wanted to come back, I wrote to them. They started the process. I came back, joined the defense labs, and there is a funny part here. My PhD work that I was doing was highly related to what the defense labs are doing. So my projects were all in US Army projects, and the idea was to build better projectiles to blast Army tanks. And so I was improving the projectiles to blast these things. When I came to the defense labs back in India, I joined the armor division, where I was trying to improve the armor of the Arjun tank to protect it from the same projectiles that I was trying to improve. So trying to get the best of both worlds, and that's what I did. And pretty quickly, one of my friends from the REC Trichy days, the undergraduate days, he was more of an entrepreneur. He pulled me out and he said, let's do things in education and in a field that will become big in future. This was back in 2005, 20 years ago. And we decided that data analytics or AI or ML, whichever name you call by, would become a future big thing. Back when in India, people were not talking about it much. So we started working towards that, and then set up a company in 2011, probably one of the first ones in educating working professionals in AI and machine learning, and got very good recognition globally. And that is when we kind of moved from material science, metallurgical engineering to data science, and from atoms to probably bits is what a nice thing to talk about that. And then once that became big, eventually upGrad acquired us, and the faculty members that we put together, we started building a program in a doctoral program, which in AI, and with focus on Gen AI, because that's the hot topic for the last couple of years. But there's a lot more AI than just Gen AI. So that's what moved me into these things. So I have been doing a variety of things over the past nearly 30 years, and that's my background.
So I see you have plenty good experience in a very different sectors, and that's good. That's you've been learning new things all the time. So sir, I also have seen that in every 5 decades we see a major change in the society, and again we see that there is AI in the picture and everyone is scared about it, because we have this tendency to get scared about anything new. So is it something, before talking about the DBA in Gen AI, I would really like to know, and I would really like you to please tell us that it is something very scary and we are going to lose our job, or something like that? Or is it we'll have to be like, please tell us.
Well, the answer is not an easy answer, but human beings have not been having technological changes or major changes is something not new to human beings. We have seen that when the nuclear power was, we created that or we discovered that. We thought that would, with the bombs, we would end the world, but it has peaceful purposes. So AI also has that potential to be disruptive, and it is. There will be jobs that will be lost in the short term, but as in the past, there will be a lot of new opportunities that will come up. And so the challenge for human beings now is, you mentioned every 5 decades there has been some kind of a major change. Well, actually, 5 decades now is a very big time frame. When the AI word was coined back in, it's not new. So it is about 70 years we have been talking about AI. And even before that, when the mechanical energy, the steam engine came up, so there were times when people had to shift from one type of work to another. Automation was being done, people would move on. The challenge now is, back then there was time for people to upskill. But you would take about a generation before someone would get comfortable with the electrical changes that have happened, the electronics, the computers came. There
I
was a time.
remember, sorry to interrupt. I
No.
remember the time when there was a lot of paperwork in the banks and everywhere. And then suddenly the government says that you'll have to do everything on computers.
Yes,
And some of my family members were in banks. So they were very scared what is happening and all that. So this
exactly.
is a kind of change I also have seen.
Exactly, and that happened in the 80s. 80s is when computerization in India started off, and
Yes.
pretty much picked up in the 90s. And you see how much more jobs it has also created. And there was that time people learned how to do these things. The challenge now is the pace of change is much, much faster. Now, every year things are changing quickly. So the people have to be upskilling quite a bit. A lot of repetitive tasks that human beings are doing, that will get automated. AI will do it much better, AI will do it much faster, and with much better efficiency. It won't get tired, or 24 hours it can work. So some of those jobs will go, and so people will have to upskill themselves much quicker. And that's one of the reasons we are also having this discussion about a particular segment of people with a doctoral degree that they are. But every human being will probably need to learn. And so I'll give you a simple example. See, now, at least after 2012, the machines, the AI, can actually process images much better and with more accuracy than human beings. One of the use cases there is that your MRI scans, the CT scans that are there, the AI can actually see that and be able to predict if it is a malignant cancer or a benign tumor. So things like that. It's better than doctors now being able to do. Does that mean doctors are not needed? Well, they are needed. Their time from that routine work is saved, so they can now focus on treating people better. They can focus on learning new things, doing more research to come up with new things, because we have more diseases, we have newer diseases. So how do you do that? So humans will be relevant, but we have to upskill ourselves.
Let's talk about the DBA in Gen AI. Uh, so, actually, at first I wanted to know about what is the difference between PhD in AI and online DBA in AI.
Okay. Excellent question. And I get that question a lot from many people. They are both, first, similarities. Both of them are doctoral degree. That is the what we call terminal degree, the final degree. There is, universities cannot give a higher degree than that. You have achieved everything in terms of degrees, the highest form of degree. Both of them give you the same title, doctor, that you put in front of it. But the fundamental purpose for both of them is different. Typically, while some universities may try to play around, typically a PhD leads into more theoretical research. When we are trying to just look at the chat GPT that we are taking an example of that, building the new language models, the chat GPTs, etc., to be able to think about that, to be able to think about the math behind that and algorithms behind that, get deeper into the theory for that, is something that requires a PhD. Having said that, so that is the innovative way of actually building newer systems and thinking about and changing the horizon of that theoretical knowledge that we have. That may have an immediate application or may not have any application. See, when I was trying to look at those projectiles that will the explosively formed projectiles, that's what we called, that was doing some job, but my research may or may not have led to any immediate improvement in that thing, maybe 5 years down, 10 years down the line. That's what is PhD. But a DBA, on the other hand, is something where you are again doing a very innovative work. You are taking some technology, in this case AI or Gen AI, and you are solving a business problem or a society's problem very innovatively, coming up with a new solution using the tool. So this is much more of applied research. In PhD, I'm doing more of a theoretical research. It may have an immediate impact, it may not have any impact ever, or may have an impact 20 years later. But a DBA is now using that and now immediately coming up with a solution to a problem, of a business problem, very innovatively, and that's what DBA does. And the reason, I don't know if you wanted a follow-up question on this thing, but I just want to add in that flow that
Please,
sometimes
please.
people say, so a PhD normally takes about 4 or 5 years and a DBA is 3 years. Am I doing something lower quality? Absolutely not. There is a good reason for this. As fundamentally, there is a difference on the goal for PhD versus DBA. Both of them eventually give you the same title because the value they are adding is same or similar. But what happens is, why is a DBA shorter? Is because typically, and again, some universities play around with this thing, but typically a DBA is for a working professional who has gained enough experience in their career, so they already know the workings of the world, so to say. And when they do the research to solve a problem, they already have this wealth of knowledge built in. When I went for my PhD, I didn't have any work experience. I had got my bachelor's degree, I continued for master's, continued for PhD. I didn't have a clue what was happening in the real world. So I have to do a pretty deep research. Here, people already bring a lot of that knowledge with them, and so can do that research much quicker. And so that is why the PhD takes generally a longer term, and DBA is a shorter duration, but the value they add is similar to humanity.
So you actually just answered my next question.
Okay. Okay.
So now to learn AI, do I have to do I need a background of AI or coding to pursue this online DBA program, or I can do it without that also?
Yeah. So as I just mentioned, all we require, so, and I'm talking specifically for that DBA that we have designed in emerging technologies with the focus on the generative AI part. The thing is, as I talked about earlier, the field is changing so quickly and is impacting everyone. It is absolutely wrong for me to design a program where I expect people to know the knowledge about this subject already. A lot of businesses are now trying to use AI, and about 90% projects of AI are failing, which means it's not the technology, but people are not using it correctly. So how do I now train people who have no background in AI to be able to do that? So the short answer to your question is that if you do not have any background, that's perfectly fine. This DBA that has been designed, and many other similar DBAs that are going to be out there, is meant for business leaders who do not have a background, but they should be brought up to speed on some of the technology. And coding is not needed because senior leaders, so when you talk about senior leaders, they have moved into the management part, and that's where the DBA is more important. They are not coding anymore. If you know coding, fine, but you are not required to do that. You are not required to go deep into the math. We actually try to do it, cut out those things and still teach the concepts pretty deeply, but with no coding experience. So, short answer, you don't have to have a coding experience, you don't have to have any background in AI, but you should be open to learning new things because there is a lot to learn in this field.
Simply, the person must be passionate enough to learn
Yes,
new things,
yes,
and hardworking as well.
yes, yes.
So, as an IT professional, how does it going to make any difference of doing an online DBA in Gen AI?
Yeah. I'll just expand that question to a bigger thing. It's not just IT for anybody, actually. The thing is, AI is not related to any particular field. AI is impacting healthcare, banking, retail, manufacturing. Within these industries, the supply chain, HR, any functions that you pick or any industry you pick, it is impacting everything. So, how does it help an IT professional in this thing? Is the same question as how does it impact the healthcare professional or a manufacturing professional. See, the thing is, the way to look at it is that there is a new technology that is impacting all aspects of my life. And if I want to grow in my career or future proof my career to some extent, this is one technology. Now we cannot say that it is for someone else. Let them do it, I'll use it, etc. Now, if you are a leader in any organization, you are seeing that different parts of your work are getting impacted by AI. So you must know what AI can do. When you do that, the challenge now in the real world is that so far, the business people did not have to learn technology deeply. The technology people did not understand business deeply. And so, if in the even 4 or 5 years back, if you give a machine learning engineer or a data scientist some data and ask them to do something, they will say, oh, this is numeric data, this is categorical data, here I can run a neural network or a logistic regression. They will just throw these technical jargons, they will work out multiple things, something will give a better accuracy or some other metric, and then they will go to the business and say this model is performing best. The business has no idea if that is the right metric they should have chosen. What if some other thing would have been right? And so they don't understand. So now it is becoming important for business leaders to learn this technology. And if they do, the doctor tag anyway adds a lot of power. But you are also a small group of people who both have a domain knowledge and AI knowledge. Right now, there are people only with either domain knowledge or with AI knowledge. The moment you put these two together, that is where the benefit for an IT professional or for a healthcare professional or lawyers, anybody, it just adds that value.
Great. So, can you share some example of DBA thesis that actually changed or solved any real world business problem?
Yeah, see, yeah, all DBA problems will solve something real in some measure. Let me just give you a few examples from my own experiences of mine or my teams. So there is this one person who recently finished a DBA in AI, and he built a AI machine learning framework to detect Alzheimer's. Okay, so and that's a nice thing. It's not that doctors are not doing it. There are other ways people are doing it, but the idea is always to improve accuracy. So he built that. Then there was another person who used psychology principles and AI and machine learning to be able to measure the influence of social media. So social media influence can be measured using both psychology That was the domain expertise she brought, and AI machine learning. There was another person who actually created so to say, a disease profile of a region. So different parts of the country, different, there could be poorer localities, richer localities. Now, different water might be polluted in one area, something else. So just create a disease. What kinds of diseases are more concentrated here versus somewhere else? And if you do that, the government can have a nice policy making thing. They cannot now come up with one size fits all kind of a thing. They will be able to create policies better. Then there was another person, and I want to highlight that because we are all talking about these large models and chat GPTs and all those things. Recently finished a project where we all talk in broken English. We all write broken English. Some of us don't speak native. We are not native English speakers. So when there is broken English, how does the AI understand it versus a human understand it? So sometimes human can just understand, even if it is broken, we understand it. How does the AI understand? And just compared an older model with a later GPT kind of a model, and the older model performed much better, which is what I want people listening to this podcast to think, that not everything in the world today is Gen AI, Agentic AI, LLM only, that there is a much bigger field out there. And that is why learning about it is very important, to use it correctly. That's when the projects will succeed. Otherwise, that 80-90% failure of the projects is not surprising to me right now.
So Gen AI evolves quickly, and how do you keep the course content up to date? Because it is actually something that changes with time. You see a lot of new things in time, like DeepSeek now.
Yes.
So how do you keep the course content up to date?
Yeah, very important question, very good question. In fact, the curriculum needs to be updated in keeping with the times. But so let me just talk about the curriculum briefly, about the DBA program that we have, so that I can connect this thought where we need to be very agile in our curriculum changes. So first of all, a lot of people who take this program do not have even technical background, leave alone AI background. They are not from technology backgrounds now. So we need to bring them up to speed. So we have 7 courses in this program, and each takes about 7 weeks, 15 sessions, 7.5, 8 weeks, so about 2 months. So what happens is 3 of those courses are technical, which means we start from the very foundations of AI, very, very basic things, and which are still very important, then take it to what the later AI algorithms emerged, and finally a third course when the Gen AI comes up and changes kind of every day. So, and we simplify it well for people to understand concepts really easily. Then there are 3 business focused courses. Okay, I understand the technology, but how should I think about what problem to solve? How should I think about the return on investment that I get from using AI? How should I use about the responsible usage of AI, and variety of things? How should I set up my project team? Who should be part of this team? So there are some business courses that teach those kinds of things. And then there is a research focused course, which is a must for every doctoral program. So we do that thing. So what in all of this, the foundations of AI and the deep learning that became very popular in the last 10 years, which even led to Geoffrey Hinton getting a Nobel Prize this year in physics. So these are pretty standard. I mean, not much will change in them. The Gen AI is where the tools are changing, the applications are changing, and so our curriculum keeps pace with that thing. So just to give you an example, in October 23, when we started this program, nobody was talking much about agentic AI. LLMs were popular, Gen AI, people were talking about it, Chat GPT became popular, but pretty soon, within 5-6 months, everyone started talking about agentic AI, agents. I have this agent doing the work of the HR professional going through the resumes, and this professional setting up interviews, and this agent actually scoring the resumes automatically, which is more aligned with the job, etc., etc. So, how do we go about it? And we added that in the course. See, the important thing to remember here is fundamentally nothing is changing. Fundamentally, what is happening today, the math for that was all done and dusted back in the 1980s. It's just that we did not have the computing power, we did not have the huge amount of data to be able to now do all the kinds of things that we are able to do now. Other than that, there is some tweaks. DeepSeek made a bit of a tweak, and very smart tweak. And these are all smart things. That's where a PhD is needed. So these are people who made a smart tweak and doing some calculations, matrix multiplication. Now, matrix multiplications, this was done in 1850s. That's what is driving most of the AI that we are doing right now. So what will happen is, yes, when you join the program, you have certain pieces of Gen AI working. By the time you finish, some of the things that were covered are obsolete, something new has come in, but you are the one who are rightly placed to understand what is changed, because you have now understood the entire background of all of that thing. I'll give you a story, slightly different, but on the same context. When I was getting my PhD in the mid 1990s and the late 1990s, towards the time I was graduating, one of my professors said, see, nanotechnology is becoming very, very big nowadays. And he said, there are no books, there are no professors, I cannot teach you, but you are the people who will have to build this technology, because the fundamentals of material science are the same. So you now use them to use it in a very different context, make it much smaller and find newer applications and build that. So the idea is, when your foundations are strong, those foundations are also very important to solve the current problems, but at the same time, they will help you keep pace with what is going on. So yeah, the tools will come and go. So the tool that I'm using, who knows, ChatGPT in its current form may not even exist in the next 4 or 5 years. Who knows that? But now that I'm using it, I can, and learning about it, I can do the next thing also.
Great. So, what does a global immersion looks like? I mean, how does the time of San Francisco or Singapore add value to online education or online modules?
Again, an important question. So immersion is an important piece of any DBA program, and it's part of our DBA program also that we have designed. The thing is, the human interaction that we are all talking about, worried about, is still very important. While I can improve efficiency, see, I did not have to travel to Noida and meet with you today, sit there and then record all of this. We can do this online. But there is still that human connect. When we meet online, a lot more things can be done. Now, here, the two of us are talking. Now, in a cohort, if I have 40 or 50 senior leaders from 15 to 20 different countries, now in an online setup, I can make them meet, they can talk something, but it's not as effective. What happens in the Singapore or Mumbai or San Francisco immersion is people come together. And I was in an immersion in Singapore in January, and these 40 people who were there, of course, they will have fun. They will do the networking. That is the important part. The networking is a very important part. But also, when they said, this is the problem I want to solve in the next 2 years in my research, now people from different backgrounds, different countries are sitting in that room, and they are brainstorming. They are giving them ideas. They are talking about what needs to be done. And I saw at least 10 to 15 people, their whole idea about what kind of research they should be doing and how the problem should be evolved just became clear over the 5-day time period. And then they made a lot of good friendships. So this interaction helps ideate better. The second part of it is the network. And I'll just give you an example of a powerful example that recently happened with some of our students. One of the people was the chief digital officer of a multi-billion-dollar company in US, and he went through this program, AI program, a DBA program that we were running. And during the program, of course, people made friends, and they had similar interests. And he hired 2 of them in senior positions. One as a chief platform officer, and the other as a chief data officer. And together, the three of them, the chief digital officer, chief data officer, chief platform officer, they created a unified data platform for their organization and saw a lot of value. So these kinds of networks can help impact your career also in many nice ways that you probably could not do without that immersion. That connection is not so well established.
Well, this one thing is coming to my mind. Why should do DBA program in AI? Why not I go for a certification or MBA with AI? What difference is it is going to make in my career?
Yeah. See, it all depends on your goal. What you want to achieve in your goal. DBA is not mandatory. Not everyone needs to do a DBA. But now you need to think, what are your goals in life? What do you want to do? And in that process, we learned through our experiences that most of the senior leaders, again, if I am a fresher out of college, I may have a different thing. A certificate might be good enough for me. Okay, so I will learn a little bit about it. I can start implementing. Some tasks are given to me in a company. I will perform that. Now I am in a I am starting to get into a manager's role. I have an MBA. I do some understanding of AI jargon, etc. I can talk briefly about it. So maybe some entry-level managerial kind of positions, etc. I might be suitable. You do that thing. But the reason we said we need a 10-year experience minimum in this DBA is because we are dealing with senior leaders. And when you are a senior leader, you can do an MBA with an AI specialization, perfectly fine. There is nothing if you have time constraint, etc. But a doctor tag really now gives a boost in that part. But also, what anybody needs to look at, whether you are in entry positions or mid-level or senior positions, look at the curriculum of the document. Everyone says, I am giving a degree in AI and DBA or MBA or a certificate, and the costs can vary, etc. When people are investing their money and time, it is important that they learn how the curriculum has been designed, who has designed the curriculum. Typically, universities, they are all purely academicians, and a business-focused degree, a doctoral degree, dealing with senior industry folks requires that the faculty who is teaching also has the same kind of experience. Okay, so think about those aspects, and if the curriculum and the faculty are impressive, and there will be many places they will be impressive, but if they are meeting your goal, then do a DBA. Otherwise, you can do an MBA with a AI course or certificate, depending on what your goal is eventually.
Still, we people don't believe in something that you just said it. So
Yes,
we need proofs. We need the real story.
yes.
So if you could tell us the real ROI story of someone who got promotion or salary hike or get a job as a manager or CXO or CTO or something.
I just gave you that example in the previous question where I mentioned that there was this chief digital officer of a multi-billion, about $8 to $10 billion company in US, and multinational company. And once this course was done, two of the people became very senior people. They were senior, but now they have a chief platform officer, chief data officer, and with skills that are uncommon to most people. People are either business folks or tech folks, and now you bring a techno business function into this thing. That's there, and then there is another person that I think of again got into a senior position, but at this stage, see, salary hikes etc. are fine, but the senior folk, of course, it's important. Those will happen, but when this one person is repeatedly now asked to come into these panel discussions, conferences globally, where they talk about AI, strategize about AI, and the visibility that you really get is also important. So it's not just a salary hike or a designation change, which happens anyway, but also the visibility that you get through these people. And that's where I wanted to add, if you give me 2 more minutes, that the kind of requirements each person comes up is different. See, when we were getting a PhD, bachelor's, master's, PhD, then we were thinking, okay, the skills I'm gaining will help me sometime in future, and they did help. But now I have 20, 30 years experience. I don't want to be getting a degree and then saying, well, 20 years later, maybe something will happen. I have a doctor thing. I want now. And that now ROI people is different types of ROI. Some people say that I want to be able to share my knowledge. I want to become an adjunct faculty in a university after retirement, or while working as an adjunct, I want to share those things. And people have seen, I have seen one of the learners in this program within the first year, the entire DBA is also not done. Within the first year, learned enough, started offering a course based on their own domain expertise and AI put together to a university in Brazil, and started making money. Okay, so whatever you are investing in the program, for people like this, getting 10,000 rupees an hour is reasonable. And so if you teach a 40-hour course, which is 4 lakhs, one semester, 15 days or something, you teach 4 lakhs you make, and you do it only 40 hours in 2 years, 8 lakhs, most of the money that you invested is already made up. But then there is some
So
other
this
people.
means that, and it is good for the entrepreneurs as well. You can
Okay, good,
even
good point. I was
yeah.
coming to that. So that's a very important point. So not everyone wants to be able to teach. Okay, fine. I don't want to be doing that. So there are some people, like you said, entrepreneurs. I want to be an entrepreneur. And so how does this program help? Because typically any doctoral program, what happens is PhD or DBA, once I do the coursework, I do my research. Research will lead to a publication. I want to publish a paper somewhere in a journal, and I want to write a dissertation, thesis, and defend and get the degree. But see, the publications are seen by people sitting in the universities. They see, oh, you have written these publications. So if you want to be an adjunct faculty, that's very valuable. But if I'm an entrepreneur, a VC fund or a private equity fund is not going to be looking at your publication. They say, where is the business plan? So what is very unique to this, only this BBA program that we have designed, I don't know of any other doctoral program in the world that does it, is we said, okay, you don't publish a paper like a typical research outcome. You create a business plan. You now find out what other products or services other people are doing. You have to do that same rigor, same research. You cannot say that it's a 5-page financial document for the next 5 years. That is not the business plan. You have to identify the gaps. You have to understand your own strengths and weaknesses, why you will be successful. Pretty much the entire business plan with the pitch. That business plan with a prototype that you develop in the 2 years of research becomes your dissertation. You don't have to do another one. There were some other people who said, no, I don't want, that's too risky. I don't want to build a company, and I don't want to be a professor. I am in the industry. I want to be able to advise the other companies, solve similar companies. I have the knowledge, I have AI. I want to be known as a thought leader in this area. What do I do? We said, okay, the CEOs and the CXOs, they may not look at research publications. They are not interested in your business plan. You are not doing. Write a book and you have a doctor tag, and you have a book that showcases your strength in this field, and that is what becomes the dissertation. Now, not everyone has written a book or a business plan, so it needs support. How do I support that? And so we have that people who have built companies, people who have done a lot of consulting, written books, etc. We bring them also to provide that support. So a lot of that happens with a lot of hand-holding happens in that sense. We guide people very well in being able to achieve these outcomes.
So far it seems very good, a very good program. But one thing is always comes to my mind while we use a lot of AI into our work. So is it something like it is going to affect our cognitive ability, or we are about to lose our cognitive ability because we are so much dependent on AI?
Well, actually, a very, very good question. I don't know if I can answer it very well, uh, but there are two aspects of that. If I use the technology blindly and just keep doing that, well, I do have a risk of losing some of my abilities. At the same time, this gives a lot of opportunity. Now, if I have this technology, how do I use this? What other new problems can I solve? I have to think about that. The technology is not going to be able to think. So now my mind is freed up to be able to apply this in a variety of newer situations, solving new problems. So it becomes a support function for me to enhance my cognitive abilities. In fact, doing that is what it's do. And if I want to get a bit technical, also not too technical on that, well, AI also I can think of as a left brain, right brain part of it. See, the human brain, the left brain thinks logical stuff. The right brain is the creative part of it. The traditional AI machine learning that we have been talking about does a lot of this logical stuff. You have the data, you have some patterns, you find it, you do that thing. Now, the generative AI that is there is creating new things, new music, new audio, new videos, new images, new content. Well, it's behaving like a creative thing. And the moment it does that, it is kind of mimicking your own brain functions. So you now try to use it for both of them by actually using it as a tool and understanding what it can do right and not. So the goal is that if you don't want to lose your cognitive abilities, you better understand what it can do, what it cannot do, and then use its strengths. Do not be fooled by its weaknesses.
Great, great. So I'm not gonna lose my cognitive ability.
No.
So, balancing it, it's a online program, online DBA, which I can pursue it from with my job. So,
Yes.
balancing a demanding job or balancing a job with doctoral research. So, is it something you will be providing the flexibility or student support so that I can manage both?
First of all, it's a doctoral degree. So people must, if they want to do this, they must find time to be able to do that. They have to work hard. It's not just you pay some money and get a degree. That's not going to work. You need to learn. So the time investment is needed. But we also understand these are senior folks, and so they have limited time. A rough estimate that we have is if you are able to allocate about 15, 10 to 15, about 15 hours a week on this, then you will be able to do that. We provide a lot of support. Of course, people are expected to sit in the class, but if they are unable to, they get video access. They can revise. Of course, the video is not going to be exactly equal to the live sitting there and listening and interacting, but sometimes people are busy, they may miss the classes, they have the video access. That's one part of the support. Now, obviously, you will not understand everything. When you are going through it, you have a lot of questions. You don't want to wait till the next class to clarify. There is a learning management system. Ask questions. We are there all the time. We will address them. That's the second part of that. And there is a team that actually checks on with the learners from time to time to see if everything is going on well or not. This is through the coursework. Now, how do I support the research part of it? Because this is completely new to almost everyone. Now, once you identify a business problem that you want to solve in the next 2 years after the classwork is done in the first year, we assign a faculty member as a supervisor, as a thesis advisor, as a dissertation advisor. They will work with you one-on-one for the next 2 years and help you with your research. In addition to that, we have every 2 weeks from the second year and third year, we have workshops if you have identified book writing or business plan building as your goal for the doctoral dissertation. Then every 2 weeks, there are these faculty members who have written books or business folks who have built companies. They will now tell you first, okay, you do a literature survey. This is a 250-page document you have to create. The first 20 pages should be introduction. You go and study these kinds of papers and books and other things. Then write a summary and some documents. Your research advisor and the book writing or the business plan advisors who are there will give you inputs. You again go back, you update that. They will give you inputs. So from second year, once the coursework is done, it is very interactive one-on-one discussions with your thesis advisor and workshops with book writing and business plan writing. And so you get all of this support throughout the thing. You are also Golden Gate University in this program, Golden Gate University student. So you have access to their libraries and other kinds of things, the digital libraries. So all of that support, as any university, we provide all of that.
So, is there any hidden cost for the program?
There is no hidden cost, I think, and the cost is pretty low because it is online. And a typical DBA, if you go to US, this is a US DBA that might cost $80,000 to $120,000, which is close to what 60-70 lakhs to more than a crore. But this one, I think, upGrad DBAs or any other general DBAs are much lower, 10-15 lakhs, 15-20 lakhs kind of a range. And in this particular thing, that is all there is, except when you have to travel to the immersion flight tickets and the accommodation, those are the things you have to bear, the learner has to bear. There is no other hidden cost. Everything else is completely included in this thing. The teaching, the research support, the material, all of that academic stuff, everything is taken care of. Only the three immersions that you have, the flight tickets and accommodation is something that you pay for. But as I mentioned, the immersion, the value add with the networking and that sometimes connections that give you a huge boost in the career is that, and the fun they have. Actually, these people I have seen like kids. I mean, they just have a lot of
I
fun.
think that's worth it. You'll
That's
be
worth it.
connected with
Yeah.
a lot of
Yes.
intellectual peoples or
Exactly.
maybe CEOs or CXOs.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So that is the other cost. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how will I get a peer connection when there will be people from around the world of different time zones? How will I get connected with my peers and
Yeah.
get their experience instead of I'll be traveling to there and
Yeah.
get campus immersion. Apart from that,
Yeah, people do multiple things. One thing, they on their own, they all create a WhatsApp group. They keep a lot of discussions going on. The other thing is, when we are going through the coursework, we create some groups of people for certain assignments where they interact with each other. The point of this time zones is very valid, especially in this program where we have almost all the 24 time zones covered. So when we teach, we create two slots, one in the morning India time, one in the evening India time. So there is one time slot that works out for some people. So either people pick the morning slot or the evening slot as per their convenience.
and what will be the impact of pursuing DBA Gen AI in my career growth
See, you have
or getting a doctor's title?
Exactly. So, well, the doctor title adds a pretty good power and respect. But more important than that is the knowledge that you gain. So there is that thing. And then I mentioned about these things in the networking related things. People got other positions, senior positions, handling leadership roles in data related things. So that's how it will boost your career. You are some of the minority who have these kinds of skills, and that's what will happen. So, it will be surprising that when you say I have 20 years of experience and in this field, and I know AI now very well. I would be surprised if companies don't line up and say that I need you. Okay, so they are
So
needed everywhere.
I think we have covered it all, and we have talked a lot about Gen AI, DBA, and cleared all the confusions, or maybe all the questions a student will have if they wanted to pursue the program. So that will be all. Thank you so much.